Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel once again, Global Football View, and we are on to a brand new show called the Whistle Watchdog. And now we will be taking a look at the English Premier League and officiating and see what's going on in the English Premier League. A lot of decisions have been made by this referees. We somehow tend to dent the result of the game. So on this show, we'll be taking a look at the decision made by the referee to see why they have come to a conclusion that decision and also scrutinize every decision to see how the referee got the decision right. So on today's episode, we're going straight to the match between Newcastle United versus Tottenham. That match was played at the Tottenham Stadium where the match ended in a 2-1 victory for Newcastle. But the biggest talking point from the game was in the first half where Joe Linton under the ball in a situation whereby lead to Newcastle scoring their equalizer in that game. In my opinion, I think that's handball and should have been called off, and the VAR team should have called the referee to take a look at that decision because in my opinion, because if you look at the situation, it was a very obvious foul by Joe Linton in that game. Referee and the Madley saw the decision and with the play to continue, but the VAR should have called him back to check and see if truly the ball struck his hand. Because you can tell me that the ball struck his hand, but moving to the part of Bruno Guimaraes, who later led the ball to Anthony Gordon, who now equalized for Newcastle. So I think the referee got that decision wrong, and it should have been called for a foul, and that goal should have been chopped off, and probably nobody would have expected what would have been the outcome of that game if Tottenham had not been pegged back in the match. So for me, it's a wrong call. The referee got it wrong. The VAR team got it wrong. It's a handball, and it should have been called off. And the second biggest talking point from that game was the penalty shot from Newcastle, where we saw Anthony Gordon be clotted by Kulusevski in the second half of the game. I think that is an obvious penalty because it's a rough play. Whereby the attacker broke his nose because of the contact by Kulusevski. But the referee and the VAR team deemed it as if uh, the situation wasn't warranting a review because the fact that Kulusevski was in a natural position and goal into Anthony Gordon. For me, that's a clear foul, a clear penalty because it actually bashed him with the shoulder, not even with his head, like head-to-head collision. So you see, that for me is a penalty and should have been called for a penalty. And Newcastle should have had a penalty in that game. The other game from the English Premier League, which we'll be talking about, was a game between Arsenal and Brighton. That match was played at the Amex Stadium. Yeah, Brighton had Arsenal to 1-1 draw. But the biggest talking point for that game was the penalty called by referee Anthony Taylor to award Brighton a penalty in the second half after Georgina Saliba for firing his man, draw Pedro, in that game. In my opinion, I have never in my entire life seen a situation whereby a player is penalized for a head-to-head challenge in the penalty box, knowing fully well that Saliba actually had a touch in that part of the ball. So I do not know why the referee gave that decision. And the most annoying part is seeing referees, a former referee like Dominic Gallagher, coming on Sky Sport to justify that decision and say it was the penalty that the ball got to Saliba rather than Saliba getting to the ball. So make it make sense. I don't understand if you are not going to award a penalty for Kulusevski against Kulusevski, which was which happened the same day in the match between Newcastle and Tottenham. I do not see why you should award a penalty for it because the contact from Saliba to Joao Pedro was a mild contact, wasn't a reckless challenge. It was two players going for the ball and two players had a touch of the ball. So I do not know why that penalty was given. I think referee Anthony Taylor got that decision wrong, and the VAR team should have called him to have a review. And the most annoying part was hearing them say that the VAR cannot do anything because the referee has scored. So I asked the question: what is the work of the VAR if the VAR can see a decision that has been called wrong by the referee and not ask the referee to go and review his decision? So for me, that's a wrong call from Anthony Taylor, and that penalty shouldn't have been given. And the other big talking point from that game was the penalty shot from Arsenal, yeah, by Gabriel Magalhaes was clattered down by the Brighton defender. In my opinion, I just see that as a coming together between two players, and in corner kicks, a situation like that, a lot of foul goes on, a lot of pushing and shoving. So I do not think the referee got that wrong. That's not a reason why it should be given a penalty, because the ball wasn't in the path of Gabriel Magalhaes, so you cannot give a penalty for that situation. I think the referee and Taylor got that spot on, and that's not a penalty. And the last game from the week, where we saw the match between Liverpool and Manchester United, and Liverpool were awarded a penalty in the second half, which Mohamed Salah converted the game, and then the 2-2 draw. I do not think that is a penalty because of the close proximity between the leads and the ball. The ball was headed into his hand, although his hand was in on a natural position. But if you look at the close proximity between the ball and the hand and the man heading the ball, I do not see why you have to give that penalty. Referee Michael Oliver decided to not give the penalty on field, but the VAR called him to take a look at the situation again. In my opinion, I think even if he was called to take a look at the situation again, he should have stood his ground and not award the penalty, as it never awarded the penalty in the first place. Because if you look at the game between Spurs and Manchester United, same season, Romero had the ball struck to his hand, and the referee, same day, coincidentally, was Michael Oliver, deemed the ball and the man like there was a close proximity between the ball and the man Romero, which made him not to call for a penalty. And the VAR team of that day didn't call him for a review of the decision, which I think they shouldn't have done in this case against Manchester United and Liverpool, because of the close proximity. And I think that decision was wrong. And Michael Oliver didn't actually call for a penalty. It was a VAR who called him to go look at the screen again, which I think they shouldn't have interfered, because the referee, on-field referee, never awarded the penalty. But if I have to go by the words of Dominic Gallagher, so why is the VAR team interfering? Why is the VAR team having the right to intervene in the match between Liverpool and Manchester United, and the VAR not having rights to intervene between the match between Brighton and Arsenal? So I think these people should make it make sense and try to give us a fair officiating. And the last call for me of the day was the foul by Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez, I think, made a reckless tackle, and he should have been sent off for that tackle, because I do not see how the referee got it wrong. Even if the referee got it wrong, the VAR should have called him to go and look at the same way they called him to look at the penalty situation in that game. So for me, these are the biggest talking point from this weekend Premier League. And referee Anthony Madley in the Newcastle game got his decision wrong and should have given Newcastle a penalty, and should have called the Newcastle first goal off for Amber against Joelinton. So referee Anthony Madley had a very poor performance, and if I have to rate his performance in that game, it should be 2/10. And the match between Brighton and Arsenal, where Anthony Taylor gave a penalty against Arsenal, which I think is a wrong penalty call and shouldn't have been a penalty. But the one against Gabriel Magalhaes from the Brighton player is a right call. And if I have to rate the referee decision, referee performance, and referee decision from this game, it has to be 1/10. Referee Anthony Taylor is adjudged to have gotten a very shambolic performance this week. And last but not the least, the match between Manchester United and Liverpool at Anfield, where Liverpool played a 2-2 draw. Referee Michael Oliver didn't give the penalty at first, and the VAR team called him to go and award the penalty. So in my opinion, I do not think Michael Oliver got it wrong, but it was interfered by the VAR team. So the VAR team, for me, you're going to get the score of -0/10. And the referee performance for the day, I'm going to give him 3/10. So these are the decisions from the English Premier League, the Whistle Watchdog, and these are our findings from this week. Let me know in the comment section if you think I've missed any of the referees called throughout the game, and also putting in the comment section what you like me to talk about more. So don't forget to like this video. If you like the video, subscribe to this channel, and also put on your comment section and let me know what you think about this referee decision. Till I meet you again, I say peace out.